called to order on July 12th, and it is roughly 9:41 a.m. And we can start with roll call.
Commissioners Johnson.
Present.
Whiteford.
I am here.
Markham.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Rahman.
Present.
Long.
Here.
Spiz.
Present.
Smith Charles.
Present.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I have asked Commissioner Rahman to lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That takes us to item 4 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes dated June 7, 2023. Moved by Mr. Spiz, supported by Commissioner Markham. Yes, let's prompt the vote.
Commissioner Rahman.
Yes.
You have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
8 yeas, 0 nays, that motion carries, thank you. Takes us to item 5 on the agenda, approval. I'll take a motion to support that. Rahman supports, Johnson second. And we can prompt the vote for approving the agenda.
Rahman.
Yes. Oh, yours isn't working.
Markham.
Oh, it's always one of them. Oh. Voted but didn't say that, sorry.
You have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
8 yeas, 0 nays, that motion carries, thank you. It takes us right on into public comment, item number 6. I do want to open the floor for anyone who looks to address the committee. However, I am going to start with Sean Carlson, who, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, and I will forego the 3 minutes and definitely want to hear from you today.
Okay. We'll give you a shock instead when it's 3 minutes.
Yeah, there's a moat under
Instead of the bell.
I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Sean Carlson, Deputy County Executive. I'm running point for County Executive Coulter in regards to our transformational investment in the Pontiac project. And I just wanted to get in front of this committee and just kind of give a status update and provide some information to each of you. Of course, you'll be getting some information here, if not today, tomorrow in regards to a resolution next week. Right now, we are in the inspection period with doing our due diligence. Our due diligence is getting environmental reports, appraisals, property condition reports, surveys, title, some lease abstracts regarding the functionality of Ottawa Tower 1, where there's currently tenants as well as the parking garage. So all that due diligence is coming in regards to the bylaws of the county. It is a requirement, and you'll see that we did do 2 appraisals. CBRE and IRR are the two firms that were utilized in the appraisals. Those appraisals came back at 19.6 and 19.9. Again, you'll have this information within the next 24 hours as well. So the inspection period deadline was July 17th. Which is next Monday, and the closing date is August 16th. Farbman Group, that is currently named as the purchaser, did do an amendment with the seller to move the inspection period to July 24th. That's not in regards to any concerns with any of the due diligence reports. That was more to make sure that we were making accommodations for the next board meeting is scheduled for July 20th. So we were able to move that date back. The closing date will still remain August 16th. So we don't anticipate any hiccups, but we do have our internal folks reviewing the reports now and the surveys and so forth. And there doesn't look like there's any big obstacles from that perspective. I think you're all aware as well that the Michigan legislature, I'm not sure quite yet, and forgive me, I don't know if the governor signed it or not, but we did receive an enhanced.
This is our legislative
Yes, so
expert.
he would know. So we did receive a $50 million enhancement grant in the budget for this project to move forward with this transformational investment as well. And then, of course, our facilities teams have been working closely with the Fardman Group in regards to estimates, capital improvement, operational cost, and savings that could be achieved by moving some of our folks down to this south campus if this becomes a reality. So I just kind of wanted to give a high-level review. Happy to answer any questions, whether that's now or later, but you'll get more information within the next 24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Opening it up to the committee members, starting with Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm just curious if there have been any gut reactions to any of the inspections from anyone or just
I'm not.
no
aware-
obstacles is good.
No obstacles that I'm aware of are big concerns. Obviously, we do have a parking structure report that we looked at what would happen if we just refurbish the current parking lot. That was never really the design, but we thought that was important to take a look at that. It's cost prohibitive to go that route, so we're looking at a couple of different options as well. I think it's also important that generates another response also. There is brownfield transformational projects, and so our economic development team is working with the Fardman Group as well. Pontiac, the city of Pontiac is eligible for $50 million in brownfield transformational projects. So the Phoenix building in this parcel of property that we're talking about would qualify for the transformational project as well. So we're working with the deputy mayor's office right now in regards to the potential. Now that would be something that would have to be put together. That would call for a private developer to be involved in order to take advantage of that opportunity, but it could include demolition cost for the parking structure as well as building cost, as well as repair of the Saginaw Road and connecting it. And Orchard Lake Road will also need to be repaired because as that building comes down, that portion that the Phoenix is over top of right now will also need to be repaired. So all of that could be eligible as well. So that could open the door and opportunities for an additional $25 to $50 million. We'll also be working with the department management budget to encourage the current leases that are taking place in that building to be extended as well.
Great. Any other questions? I guess it goes without saying, I think you mentioned inspection, which is different than appraising. Is that for like structural elements?
The inspection period, like I said, the end date was July 17th, but it's for all of that due diligence. So not just the building, but the grounds and the property that we would be obtaining.
Excellent. And then was curious, one of the analysts was kind enough to ask if I could check in with you in terms of something called a Reconnect grant through the federal government, if that's something that you're familiar with. If not, you can certainly look into it after today.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility of funds that could go towards this Pontiac project. So it's called the Reconnect grant through the federal government.
All right, we'll certainly take a look at that.
Well, as I understand it, we get more information from you over the next day or so, and then I think we are to reconvene before the board meeting next Thursday, as I understand it, but
That's my understanding
yeah.
as well.
So you'll get more information as soon as I have some as well. Other than that, thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate the
Appreciate it.
update. Just making sure, is there anyone from the public who would like to speak before the committee? Giving you an opportunity to address this committee. And I don't see anyone, so I will go ahead and close public comment. Next on our agenda is item 7, communications. We've got 3, starting with Board of Commissioners mid-year invasive spongy moth program report, which I wanted to throw it at you, Mr. Spitz.
Oh, he was gonna move it, right?
I was gonna move it, but that's fine.
You
I'll give you a
wanna
brief
talk about
update.
spongy
We're in
moth?
process of,
So you'll move it.
yeah, move it to receive and file everything.
Okay.
We're in the process of finalizing everything for this year's Spongy Moth program. Overall, this will probably be the last year we do it. We've carried over the funding over the last couple of years, but we're not gonna look to do anything above and beyond this at this point, because a lot of communities, I feel comfortable where they're at, and they're just in the final phases of evaluation at this point, so. After this, I don't expect it to move forward.
So does that mean the problem's been,
I'm gonna say
Brought under
mitigated, it's
control.
never gonna go away, but it's been mitigated, if that makes sense.
and we don't see that we'll have to continue to do the treatment?
The communities do not feel they need it anymore at this point,
Okay.
any additional support at this point, other than what they're doing themselves. That doesn't mean it can't come back in 5-10 years. I mean, it seems to be a cyclical project.
Goes in cycles, so.
Yeah.
It's been going in cycles, and when we addressed it was strong.
Yeah, that was at the
Yeah,
tip of this.
I was visiting some folks up north, and their community is having a real problem with it.
Okay.
And not all of the residents are in sync, of course.
Of course.
Because you're throwing chemicals in the air and so.
Yeah, there's different avenues. You don't have to do the chemical spray per se. There's draft treatments, et cetera, that you can do versus spraying, which some of the communities are doing that.
Cool, thank you.
Did I cover everything, Connie? Okay, thank you.
Yes, and the mid-year report is there in the packet for us. Thank you for championing that since I've been on the board. And we can then just, is it a vote?
Receive and file
receive and
first.
file.
Okay,
I
so
think
we'll prompt
ABC,
the
you
vote
moved them
to
right.
receive and file.
All ABC, right?
Right, all.
Couple weeks off and it's,
The brain is mush.
You have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
8 yeas, 0 nays, that motion carries. Thank you so much. Takes us to item B, which is the grant exception application, letter to the,
Oh, we did all of them at once.
oh.
Yeah, that was
okay.
ABC.
Okay.
You can bring them up still though.
All right. Well, for the record, grant exception application, letter to the board, and a second, letter C, grant application, letter to the board.
And your includes on the first one and C for prosecuting is for
Excellent. And so Erin was kind enough to join us by phone. If we have any questions on item 7B, in terms of this grant exception letter with our sustainability office. And then item 7C is Brett Rastigan is here in case there's questions related to the placemaking grant, also thought of as RAP, et cetera, et cetera.
I actually have a question on B,
Sure.
if that's all right.
Yes.
And Aaron, if you can hear me, just a question on it looks like the charging and fuel discretionary grant program. Just wondering how flexible it is since we are requesting 8 dual port level 2 chargers at the executive office building. How firm that is and what the timeline on implementation of that would be, just because of rumblings of offloading that building possibly. I'm just curious how locked in we are with that.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's a really good question. One of the things that we were talking about too was just, putting that on pause, not necessarily for development because all of the designing has been done for it, but just what does that look like for future deployment for EVs specifically at EOB? And so what we did specifically for the CFI grant is that we actually didn't include deployment at EOB specifically for that. We focus more on the courthouse areas as well as the parks. And so for the current plan, if that's what you're asking more so about regarding the surfacing and things like that. It is still planned to have one dual port charging station installed at this time, and that was always a part of the plan for that. The future plan would be the capacity to have those 8, but it was always the plan to install that one dual port as part of the resurfacing plan. And as far as we're concerned with facilities and everything like that, we are still on course with that plan process. The only thing I would say is that we're rebidding the EV charging procurement because we have some contract issues, and now with the new federal guidance, we want to make sure that whatever stations we receive are compliant with the federal government, and that was just information that we didn't have originally when we set up the bid for that original solicitation. So I hope that answers your question, and let me know if you have any follow-up for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We hope you're safe wherever you are, Aaron. Just quickly, I hope you can hear us fine, which is in our sustainability meeting with Parks, I just wanted to clarify, because there was talk about charging stations, and I really feel so novice when after speak, listening to you, about ports, and, I'm going places like, what kind of ports do you guys have here now? But I'm curious, does that include the parks? I know it says county-owned or managed parks, but I think that there is some conversation happening at parks about what they want to do with installing some of these stations, and I just want to make sure that there's at least conversations happening, or if there's overlap, if you know at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is multi-layered, so that's why it can probably seem a little bit confusing. So later on in the agenda, I'm going to be talking about a Michigan Enhancement Grant that we received for $1 million. That is for active deployment for EV charging infrastructure right now, and that definitely includes the parks. And then for the CFI grant, this would be an expansion of that, even further throughout the county. So for right now, I work really closely with Sarah and her team over at Parks and Rec and talk about how we can deploy this infrastructure and what that looks like and where the best locations would be, et cetera, et cetera. So in short, yes, we've been in close contact and talking about what that looks like with this Michigan Enhancement Grant that I'm going to be speaking about later on in the agenda. If you have any further questions about it, that is active EV deployment for, again, with the resurfacing projects that they're taking on this year, that a lot of them have already kind of started, if not completed or near completion, and that $1 million is to help support the EV deployment for those.
All right, I appreciate that and look forward to hearing you later on in the meeting. Well, with that, I think that closes communications. We've already voted and everything's moved forward. Takes us to consent agenda. Item 8A, which is our fiscal year 2023 appropriation with the City of Keego Harbor for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program. Project number 56021, take them as a bunch. Fiscal year 2023 appropriation with the Charter Township of Orion for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program Project 55241, and fiscal year 2023 appropriation with the Charter Township of Independence for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program Project number 55241 also. And I'll accept a motion to accept that consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
And supported by Commissioner Markham. We can go ahead and prompt the vote.
You have 8 ayes and 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you all for that. That takes us to item 9 on the regular agenda, letter A, fleet expansion of 1 vehicle for park operations. I'll take a motion to open that. Commissioner Weipert and Commissioner Long, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see everybody today.
Thank you.
Here with Parks and Rec today, and what we're asking for is an extension of an agreement that Parks had initiated with General Motors a year ago.
Two actually.
Okay. It's a $0 per year lease on a pickup truck that's being used out at the ORV park, and they would like to extend it for two additional years.
So they provide us that truck, and in exchange, they get 15 days throughout the calendar year that they can use to come out and do either, customer events, or it's usually research and development or testing that they're doing out there. And this relationship works really well for us because it is 15 days, which sounds like a lot, but they typically will call us like the day before or a few days before they want to come out with their teams. So they're really filling days that we don't otherwise have rented. So it works out really well for us, and the truck is very cool.
Nice. Ms. Weiber?
No, that's great, you're getting through zero, that's the old days when we had the Harley Davidsons for $1, but this is very good.
Commissioner Rahman?
So how do we all get in on a study for a truck for?
I'll take two.
I'd just like to know, because I'd sign up for that study. My other question
Take two,
actually, in reading this, is I just wanted to understand a little bit about what it is they're studying, because it seems like a great deal and we'd have no reason to say no. But I just want to make sure I understand what it is that they're getting on their end by giving us this.
So I don't know the technical details of what they're studying out there, but it's either like their powertrain division or their 4x4 division. They have a bunch of different divisions within GM that will sort of coordinate and come out and do different, calculations, measurements. We'll see them climbing up on the rocks, looking at articulation. We'll see them, kind of doing all sorts of stuff. They love all the different features that we have out there, so it lets them do a wide variety of different types of testing.
Very good, perfect, thank you.
The testing they're doing, is it the vehicle that we're leasing that they're using to test?
No, they typically bring out vehicles with them, yeah.
Nice. I don't see any other, Commissioner Markham.
So they are lending us a vehicle,
Yes, yep, it's like a quad cab pickup truck.
and we already have it.
Yes, we've had it for the last 2 years, so this is, technically it's a new lease because the old one expired, but for us really it's just an extension of that relationship for another 2 years.
Yeah, that's how I thought I understood it.
We didn't give the truck back, we still have it.
Okay, and in the future, Mr. Burkle will appreciate this, always looking for EVs when we're looking for new vehicles.
Yes.
But this one, we're already using, it's just an extension of what we have, but, okay, cool.
All right.
No money and free truck.
Yeah, they used to do a lot more of this.
Gotta like
Yeah.
that.
Yes, I really applaud the efforts in parks to do this program.
Yeah, that's great.
So I guess I gotta ask about fuel now. We fuel and it's just standard, just like we do with all the other fleet vehicles, and it's not necessarily cost prohibitive in any way.
Correct. The vehicle's assigned a fuel card and the fuel's purchased pre-tax.
Okay, great. Well, you guys have checked all of the boxes. I appreciate that. And now we can properly vote to move this thing forward.
Thank you.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. That motion carries. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
That takes us into item 9B, which is the Clinton River Water Resource Recovery Facility Optimization Project. Can I take a motion to open and approve? Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner Markham. And let's see. I believe we have Sid here. Good morning, Sid. Are you accompanied by anyone? If so, feel free to acknowledge them as well.
Yep, Sid Lockhart here on behalf of the Drainage District. And we have with us Steve Burke from MSCI that will be selling our bonds, and Laura Bassett, our bond counsel from Dickinson Wright.
Thank you. We're gonna just take a pause to adjust the volume.
That's why I think there was all that background noise, because it was so loud.
Yeah. And then we'll be able to
Getting old, I can't
not
see
have
much.
to squint every time someone makes a sound.
Yeah.
But welcome Laura and welcome Stephen. Sid, the microphone's yours.
Okay, thank you. Yep, this is a two-phase project. One is to increase the hydraulic capacity of the secondary treatment of the wastewater plant with the clarifier, so the bottleneck there. And the other part of it is to improve the electrical upgrades. The system is full of equipment that's obsolete, can't get parts for it, and had a project on our OMID system where they actually had some components fail, couldn't get anything, had things manufactured for took a year. Fortunately, had extra pumps in line that could run that one. We don't want those kind of things to happen at the Clinton Water Resource Facility at Pontiac and Updike or East Boulevard. So we're doing some big electrical upgrades. The exciting part about the electrical upgrades, we're moving the centralizing about 10 or a dozen generators scattered along the facility and centralizing it into one generator with a cogen unit and pulling the service out of the flood, which is now in the floodplain, out of the floodplain. And so we're moving all that, and with the cogen system implemented there, we're able to burn the biogas and make electricity and then use that for the steam generating that is used for the CAMBI system, where we're first in Michigan, third in the country to implement the CAMBI system that Commissioner Nash and Naveed Moran had started. That gives us this biogas so we can do this. And we have another project on the horizon that was the first in the world study that the Drain Board initiated in conjunction with Jacobs and BYU on a new microorganism that would break down the biosolids even further and potentially make enough gas to be energy neutral. So that's exciting, but we couldn't do that without the cogen part going first. So before you today is full faith and credit resolution up to $75 million. With the world we live in, that's crazy. Hope we get the projects done within that budget. We'll see you open the bids on July 25th for the first part, which is the electrical upgrades and generating cogen project. And we put it in your hands, the committee, to move this forward.
Thank you. I was allowing that to meld in my brain. What you had to say there.
Talk fast.
All I heard was biogas. I'm like, is that good? Is that not good?
We like
It is good. And I can elaborate on that. So when in the wastewater process, if you have a digester, which this facility has always had for many years, it's anaerobic digester. So a byproduct is biogas. And there's a dome that collects the biogas. So before we had to flare the biogas, get rid of it. We still do on occasion. You might drive by it in Updike and look and see, and you'll see a big flare going off. If that's happening, that means there's some issue with our gas. It's not clean enough, or some problems with our boilers where we couldn't utilize it. So then we're flaring off the biogas, which is a byproduct of the wastewater process, and then using natural gas to run our boilers. So this project, we're actually going to scrub that biogas and clean it so you better utilize throughout the plant. We didn't do that with the first CAMBI job. And but in order to burn it in the cogeneration units, which are big engines on a gasoline cycle, but specifically made for biogas. So we clean the biogas and burn it rather than just flare it off. And then reduce our carbon footprint by not using natural gas.
Very nice. Thank you for that. And looking for questions, Mr. Weipert?
It could be for Sid or Laura or Stephen, but I mean, first, part of this is mandated by the state of what we've got to upgrade this old system, right? I mean, we're voluntarily doing a lot of this, but it's really needed for a long time.
Yeah, the state mandates on the hydraulic side of it. There's a bottleneck with hydraulic capacity when they can't take a certain rain event and flow. Even though, I clarify that, it's not a combined system, but because of weeping tiles and different, the system's leaking within the city, when it does rain, some of it does infiltrate in the sewer and causes a spike. So the mandated part is on the clarifier side of things.
And this Laura, and Laura and Stephen, it's the $75 million. We're going to do this in stages of the bonds, and how are the bond rates looking?
Hey, good morning, everyone.
And I'll let Steve answer the rates.
Yeah, from MFCI. So so the great news is that $38,090,000 of this project was accepted into the state's Clean Water State Revolving Fund. The rate on that is 1.875 this year, and we're also getting a 10% principal forgiveness, which is another, which is $3,890,000 of free money from the state. So that's that's great news. So the second piece of this would be any public market. If we do have to issue a public market issue, currently we'd be looking at somewhere in the 3.8 to 3.9% range, which obviously is up significantly from where we have been, but has actually been fairly steady even with these kind of last rise in rates. The long end of the curve, the interest rate curve, continues to kind of stay in line. It's the short end of the curve where we hear so much talk of the Fed and other challenges in the rate markets.
And we would do it in stages, right? There'll be different.
Yeah, the first phase is the electrical phase, because I had the biggest need. And with the $38 million of financing that Steve mentioned, that was on a fast track schedule. We had to, our operations department submitted an application to the state last year. It got accepted late last winter in 2022. And then we thought that we could secure the financing and then design the jobs and then really implement them in 2024. The state came back and told us, nope, you can't do that. You have to close the loan in 2023. So we had to have, all this designed, which we didn't have a consultant selected. You have to procure the consultant in the proper way to make sure it's eligible and a contractor. So we had to, go out for consultants and we had a CMAR for a little bit on it, help us along the way. And the schedule was have it designed in May and bid by July and close the loan in October. And normally a job like this would take 1.5 years to design. So as we got into it, we hit like 90%. And the clarifier job had some larger constructability issues with dewatering and shoring it up. It has to be transitioned to keep the plant operational. And that causes some bigger constructability issues. So we since paused that project because the whole thing was exceeding the $38 million. That's why we're sitting here today with a $75 million request. And so we're pausing that one. I'm going to put that on the board for 24 for SRF financing and see if we can get this optimization on electrical side done with the cogen. Because you don't have electricity, you don't have a plant at all. And the hydraulic optimization was really for a certain rate event that would happen. We didn't meet its correct capacity with the state. And so we're doing the electrical upgrades first and then go back, take a couple steps back in design on the hydraulic capacity side and getting that in a better shape. Just need more time to deal with that part of the project and get off this fast track that the state had for this first $38 million.
Yes, Commissioner Miller has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question is so I read that there's 10 smaller generators being eliminated and 2 replacing it. Does one of those generators, could it do the whole system? Can it support the whole system if one goes down? Or is there a backup?
Of the two that we're installing, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, there's 2. They're redundant in everything. We have to have redundancy with the state. There's redundant electrical feeds, redundant generators on the cogen side, plus what I learned in this process, the cogen generators don't have enough torque. If enough load starts up in the plant, they can't handle it. So there's 2 diesel generators. In case everything goes down, then it goes back to two diesel generators. Have to be able to run the whole facility. Okay. That's mandated by the state on a treatment plant like this.
I want to make sure the backup. I've represented members at the City of Detroit wastewater treatment plant and understand a little bit about this.
Yep. And then the 10 generators, some of those have some useful life. We're giving those to our sewer operations department because they have some pump stations that are being generators, so they won't be scrapped, they'll be repurposed.
Thank you.
That's all you had, Commissioner Miller? And really quickly on the final order of apportionment page, in a sentence or two with the city of Pontiac, how come theirs is like 54% of the 100%?
Yeah, before we got involved with the system, Pontiac was 100% of the plant capacity. It was just slowly was built to serve the city of Pontiac. The plant was half the capacity with the reduction of industry leaving and neighborhoods going down and things like that. So in 2008, we built. When we got involved with the plant, we built a Perry pump station to divert flow from the Clinton Oakland system in there. So 30% of the Clinton Oakland system at Galloway Park is diverted by the Perry pump station. So that's 30% at the county border. Under a contract with Detroit, DVSD, now with GLEWA, we could divert 30% of the system. So at Galloway Park, at Clinton Oakland, when Perry Street was built, that equals 30% by Yates Cider Mill at the county border. So when that got pushed in the plant, that 30% of that system is actually half the plant capacity. So that 50% broken down is that 30% of the Clinton Oakland diversion, and it's strictly by flow. So we have to do that in the drain code with benefit of use, essentially. So benefit of use is the flow rates.
Okay.
They've been determined by, models and study and metering and all that, and those have been kind of held true for a long time. That's why you see Pontiac has a bigger portion there.
Fascinating. Just like looking through mud. Hi.
The good news is the plant was half its capacity, and now we have another user group in there to help support all these kind of projects. And I've been told from Kerry Cox on our operations side that diversion of the Clinton Oakland is 3 or 4 times cheaper, like sending it to the wastewater plant in Pontiac at the Clinton River facility than going to Gleeville in Detroit because all the transporter costs along the way. And treatment is more expensive there also. So that was a win-win for everybody.
Well, this is fantastic and just another reason why we can hold our heads high as commissioners in the community because we do good work around Oakland County and it's because of all of you all. We just show up and appropriate things. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent, that motion carries. Thank you, Sid and Laura. Takes us to item C, the fiscal year 2023 Michigan Economic Development Corporation grant with Oakland County grant acceptance. And we are going to hear from Aaron. Go ahead if you can. Oh yes, let's move and support that first. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Johnson moves, supported by Commissioner Markham. All right, all of that's taken care of. Aaron, we're ready for the MEDC grant with Oakland County report.
Perfect. Okay. Can you hear me better? I got some feedback that I was having some issues with the audio. I'm at the TED Countdown Conference for Climate in Detroit, so I'm just trying to find a quiet space to talk to y'all.
Thank you. Sound fine.
So this. Good. So this MEDC enhancement grant is for $1 million. It was through the budgeting process. We didn't have to apply for it. It was something that was put in for Oakland County. The $1 million is going to be utilized for a total of, 20 dual port charging stations, level 2 chargers, which equals a total of 40 charging ports. As mentioned before, we're going to be having 1 dual port outside of the EOB as part of the resurfacing project, as well as a resurfacing project for the Board of Commissioners, 1 dual port, and additional for Lions Oaks for that resurfacing project, that's going to be 8. So the other remaining at Waterford Oaks as well as the courthouses is just part of the evaluation that some of our consultants had given previously for our electrical consultants working with the facilities team on capacity concerns and what the loads could actually be for installation, because unlike what we usually think, we can't just plop these stations down. We have to make sure that the electrical infrastructure can support them. So this is really exciting because we had wanted to move forward with EV charging infrastructure anyways. A lot of these projects already included this infrastructure, but now we have a way to offset some of those costs with this enhancement grant. So with this acceptance, as I mentioned, with those 20 stations installation, it includes the additional, site work that's needed. So not only the stations, but also some of the conduit work, as well as some of the podium work to make sure that they're installed correctly and all of that. So once they're installed, they'll be fully functional and ready to go. As mentioned earlier too, one of the things I would just like to note is the rebidding process for the EV chargers in general. As I mentioned before, we wanted to make sure that all future EV chargers comply with the federal operations. What we know now today with all the different requirements that we didn't have previously when we originally did the bid. And we had all this in process prior to even knowing that we were going to receive this funding. It's just a little bit more background to let you know that what the process has been and everything that we're doing for EV infrastructure in general. I probably have more I could share with you, but I'm going to open it up for questions if you have anything specific so that I can drill into that if you need. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin. We'll start with Commissioner Markham.
My question relates to timing. When do we get this grant and when do we think we'll start installing charging stations?
Yeah. So as soon as it's approved by the Board of Commissioners, you receive 50% of the grant upfront. And so that is effectively, essentially immediately, right? So as soon as we have all the signs, approvals are made, we can have 50% of it, so $500,000. As far as I know, Parks and Recreation is the only entity that has installed or is working on installation of getting ready for installation for these EV stations. And so they're moving forward with the project because it is a reimbursable grant, not necessarily like something up front. So even though we get 50% of it right away, quote unquote, we still have to submit everything to receive that funding. And so, yeah, I mean, effectively immediately. And then, once we have expended the 50% and have the project near completion, I think it's like a 90% completion, that's the requirement, we can then get the additional funding. So it's all going to be happening within this year, assuming that we don't have any future like supply chain concerns or anything like that. And all of these projects are part of the facilities planning or Parks and Rec facilities planning.
So I would like to ask that we get a report back once this has gotten underway so that we know what's happening and we can start plugging our cars in and all of that. But I think there should be a report after we get started.
Okay, would you prefer a report, like a midway 50% completion? Would you prefer a report at the end? I just want to understand what you're looking for so that I can deliver that for you.
I think part way to understand where the progress is, how long it's taking us, and so on. It will answer a lot of questions if we get a mid-range update here. Yeah.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote on 9C.
I have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. Thank you, Aaron. I do want to draw your attention, folks, back to 9B. I want to read this into the record for 9B, which is state law requires a 2/3 majority vote by the Board of Commissioners for adoption of the proposed resolution, the Drain Code of 1956, Act 40 of 1956. So again, that is related to the Clinton River Water Resource Recovery Facility Optimization Project. And by law, it requires a 2/3 majority vote by the Board of Commissioners for adoption of that proposed resolution. Okay, 9D. I'll take a motion to open and approve 2023 interim local transportation reimbursement program. I saw Johnson and Wypert.
One of us, it should have been me. We have so many meetings, you guys don't understand.
Noted.
In our local. Good work. Yeah.
Well, then, let's see, we have.
Great, Ashley.
Yes, Kristen, thank you for being here. Do you have someone online with you, Eli, perhaps?
Actually, I've got a couple folks with me. I've got Sarah Lock-Pocket. She's the planner for the Transit Division, and we also have Bill DiBiase with Corporation Counsel with us today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning about the reimbursement program. Again, this is an interim program that the board approved back in February and appropriated $500,000. So before you today is a resolution to approve the interlocal agreement and also increase the program reimbursement amount by an additional $351,415. The additional funding needed for the program is based off of the applications that we received from the 8 communities that provided applications. There were 20 communities that were eligible for the program, but for various reasons, we only received 8 applications.
I'll ask, because it was all of our communities from our meetings, right, there, for reimbursement, I think.
If I may,
yes,
just show you a quick map. So when the original millage was passed, NODA, WODA, OPC, and SMART were identified within the millage. But all of the gray areas that you see on the map, they either had local programs or did not have a service provider at that time. So this reimbursement program is a way to provide funding to those communities to offset some of the costs that they are expending from their general fund for transportation services. So it's the communities in the southwest and also in the northwest.
Yes. And I love that you have a map, because I was curious, do they meet? Does Southwest and Northwest at some point meet on the map? And no, they don't, so that's.
But they will. So we actually have Kim here from WODA, and I know she's been diligently working with a lot of the communities in the Northwest to explore providing services with WODA. Again, because of limited vehicle availability and drivers, at the beginning of the year, we just weren't sure where we would be mid-year. So this was a program to help offset, again, some of those ongoing programs.
Wonderful. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Rahman?
No questions at all, but I just want to go on record by thanking you for the amount of time and work you've put into this. I mean, it's phenomenal. I've been at, I think, almost all of the meetings. And between Eli, Kristen, Sarah, Brett, I'm probably missing somebody else. Just a phenomenal effort. So thank you for all your time and hard work.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Johnson?
Also not a question, just wanted to thank you for doing this. This came up like very suddenly before our transit committee meeting, and this is a good problem to have. We were not expecting so much interest in this program. Also, it's a temporary, it's planned to be a 1 year only expense. So this is a good thing that the communities are using our services more than we were anticipating, and it won't be a permanent cost, so, yes.
Thank you. All right. Oh, Commissioner Markham, yes.
I just wanted to understand the chart of the local reimbursement program, the Schedule B detail. So if I look at City of Novi, for example, it says that their reimbursement is going to be $172,550, and the municipal credits are $62,149 and $9,000 other funding. So their total's $243,000 plus. So are they currently expending the $62,000 out of their general fund, and we're adding to that, or is?
No, they are currently expending the $172,000.
Oh, okay.
The municipal credits, those come from Act 51 dollars from the
Right.
state, and it's a pass-through from SMART. So those are actually reimbursement funds that SMART provides back to Novi for those programs that the locals are operating, so.
So Novi's portion up till now to run their little senior bus program is $172,000.
Correct.
And you're gonna reimburse that this year?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, fully, they don't, okay, I got you.
The $243,000 was just to show the actual overall program and the budget that they have overall. But those municipal credits and the other funds that they utilize come from other sources, not their general fund. But they leverage those funds with their general fund.
So the 172 is the only part that comes from their general fund. And is that true for all of these communities? That's basically, they're all the same setup?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Long?
Well, I just want to say she's not giving herself enough credit up there. Most of the municipalities weren't even receiving their SMART municipal credits, and she figured it all out with SMART. So she has done a phenomenal job.
It's a group effort with the transit division.
It is,
so-
but you really took that under your hand, and the municipalities are extremely grateful because there was some communication problems. They weren't even receiving emails back from SMART about their municipal credits for, I think a couple of them were a few years behind, and she got them all caught up. So, yeah, she needs some credit. They've all done a phenomenal job, so I appreciate it. So do the municipalities in the community.
Well, all of this bipartisan love festing is making my way up. With
Why we are Oakland County.
yes, why we are going on. I see no other hands raised. I guess we can go ahead and prompt the vote on this item, which is 9D.
You're doing a lot of good allaying the skeptics. really. Because I've taken a lot of heat over the years for smart credits and so on. And then once the millage passed, it all was, oh, we never get anything anyway, and you know, and you fixed a lot of that, so I appreciate that.
And Eli sends his regards, he's at Smart right now with their mobility study, so
Nice.
send him there.
And the whole team has
Well,
been
that motion
awesome.
carries 8-0, so welcome to the passing of that resolution or motion. And that goes forwards to finance. All right, moving along. Item 9E, we have Paul Zackos here. This is the facilities management authorization to market and negotiate the sale of vacant land on Dixie Highway in Independence Township. I'll take a motion. Mr. Spiz moves, supported by Commissioner Miller. Welcome, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. The county, this is an authorization memo, so we're asking, and it's just committee approval for a vote and approval to sell a piece of land. So the county, as you read through this, the county has an asset that's been sitting there for quite a while. And really, I think it came through that we should move this and get it back on the tax records and sell it. Let another developer take advantage of that location. But I think that was part of the Plant Moran study that said, hey, you know, here's what we can do with all the facilities. And when they looked at the Clarkson Court, they decided they're not going to build a new Clarkson Court for a lot of reasons. So
On that side.
on that side, right.
Again.
And in the future, I'm just talking about right now on that site. So it's been recommended to sell. We would put it on the market, and that's what we're asking. The broker did a broker opinion of price, and we've got to, in the listing price, between 1.8, 1.9, right in there. So to me and all of the experts I talked to, this is a good time to put that property on the market.
I've got a question or comment from Mr. Spiz, followed by Mr. Rahman.
Quick question, since it's 4 separate parcels, are we gonna sell it as one parcel or are we gonna be willing to split it up?
So part of, when you look at that survey, part of the complexity and I think into the equation of why we should sell is the county only owns 2 parcels of the 4 in that survey. So the middle parcel is the big parcel, which is 8, and then there's a smaller parcel. So they're selling, we would be selling 2 of those parcels as one sale.
Okay, so we won't split no matter what, we're gonna.
It's already split up.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rahman, and followed by Commissioner Whiteberg.
Thank you. This is just a clarification question. As I was reading through this, I understand the property was purchased in '07 with the intention of possibly putting a courthouse in that, but then the feasibility study was done in 2022. Is that how I'm reading that correctly? So I guess what transpired in those 16 years? I mean, was it just sitting vacant with any plans, or I mean, what? I guess why did we hold this property for 16 years?
I haven't been with the county that long.
Good answer.
But I've looked at it since I've been the property specialist. And I think to answer your question, why have we just sat with it for so long? I think the story goes that they bought it right before the Great Recession. Things didn't move. So it kind of was put on hold for a long time.
Sure.
And then there were, you know, the Clarkson Court was operating fine on a lease, the Novi Court's fine on a lease. Just nothing was ever done. I think that's the answer. It just wasn't on the top of the list. And I think from what I would call also is that they had a future date for that, which was closer to the 2022-23 time period where they would do something. Then when they got to that point, they said, oh, you know, it just doesn't make sense to build there, let's sell it.
So was the initial assessment only done in 2022? As far as you know?
The Plant Moran study is a campus-wide study. It's not just of that area of the Clarkson Court, so it encompassed all properties, all spaces, on campus, off campus.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitehurst.
And the Plant Moran study is, what's the future with the campus for COVID, right? And so are things really changing?
Right, yeah, there's a lot in there, and I'm not, I wasn't part of that, but I've only read parts of it that apply, but it's a huge study.
Let's help you out here.
And April would know more than I.
Welcome, April.
Hi, thank you. April Lynch, Deputy County Executive over facilities. Just a little bit more too, there was 2 Plant Moran studies. One that did the whole campus as it looks toward our CIP and what we're doing with our CIP, but then also they also participated in what's called the feasibility study for the Clarkston Court. And when they went and reviewed that space, it just didn't, it's not gonna meet what they need. It's just not gonna work for what that looks like. So knowing that, and it's not really buildable due to all of the other ramifications of that particular parcel, plus I believe 2 parcels around it have already been purchased, that we would just take the sale of that property and then put it toward that final project of the Clarkston Court, which is still in review.
Was that all you had, Commissioner Whitehurst?
Well, and the one just sold, right? Something that's gonna be, you heard one of the parcels.
One of the parcels to the north is sold, and it's purchased by a gas station operator, convenience store operator.
And a note, it may be contained in what you have, but just in case, the following board rule and county policy, sale of property, planning and building committee, aka economic development infrastructure committee. If there are no statutory restrictions on the sale, it may be conducted as follows. No formal negotiations for the sale of any interest in real property shall be undertaken until such time as we have authorized that negotiation as a planning and building committee, aka EDI. So, having said that.
Yep, and when it sells, we'll bring an MR and a purchase agreement for your approval.
Okay. Markham and Johnson.
This is a little tiny bit off topic, so do we have a plan for the Clarkston?
We're still working through the feasibility study in alignment with the whole CIP program.
Okay, so it's on hold for now.
Yeah, until we get it all figured out and all moving parts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying not to jump the cart with my horse here. Obviously, I was not here in 2007. I also was not here last year when apparently this was discussed in the appropriations process that elicited a chuckle from a lot of you. So that all being said, I just wanted to say I'm kind of happy about this. I really dislike the idea of building public-facing services on very hard to get to without a car, suburban landscapes, and I think moving the court from a more dense, although albeit not downtown Clarkston, where I think it should be, but a more dense area with a lot of other stuff around it that's easier to get to somewhere just off the side of Dixie Highway is a really good thing for public service. So I appreciate that we're offloading this property. Would like to think that we would profit a little bit from the sale, or at least not have lost money on it, but I'm not sure. And hopefully we can keep the court in a more accessible place for folks who actually will be using the court.
All right, well.
You can't help that we bought it and then there was a crash, so that's.
Yeah, the sentiments of many Americans.
Yes.
And nobody's saying Clarkston doesn't need a court. It's Clarkston needs a court. They're just in rental office remodel. It's
Yeah,
but that's another story.
Yeah, it's a long story.
With that, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote.
It's a long story. Or much needed.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Yeah, 8 yeas and 0 nays.
8 yeas, 0 nays, 9E passes and is approved. That takes us to the final item under the regular agenda, 9F, the approval of office space lease for Oakland County Medical Control Authority. Paul stays with us and.
I move it.
Thank you. Moved by Spitta, supported by long, and Paul, please introduce your
Yes.
panel here.
I know Bonnie, Dr. Bonnie Kincaid is the director of the MTA, Medical Control Authority. I had to learn what that was when I did this lease 5 years ago. And it's pretty interesting what they do. She's here for those. And Dr. McGraw.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I've not met him. And then I'm sorry.
Dr. Cooper?
Dr. Cooper, okay. So they are part of that organization, and that organization has been, and again, they'll be able to explain what they do better than I. But as far as the lease goes, they've been on campus for a long time in a location that works for them. So they're a $1 lease, and the benefits to that are large in that what they do with emergency medical is huge. But the lease ran out, so again, when we were looking at the Plant Moran and we were doing renovation to that building, we didn't know, well, are they gonna move? What are we gonna do? Are they gonna go? Is Bonnie gonna have to go off campus? Finally, I got the okay from my boss, Paul, go ahead and renew the lease and we'll give them 5 years. But in case we have to move them or something happens, we're gonna put in a 90-day termination clause, which they're okay with. So that being the case, we have a new $1 lease at the same location. They have their offices on one floor, and in the basement is a conference room. And that will give them what they need to continue their operations. So we're asking for approval of the $1 lease from the board here, which would go to the full board. And that'll take care of our obligations. When we do a lease, they have to supply their insurance and all the goodies that go along with that. So we're comfortable with that. It's been reviewed by Corp Counsel. And we're asking for your approval. If there's questions about Medical Control Authority, and I hope there is, you'll find that it's very interesting what they do.
Thank you. I'll start with Commissioner Rahman.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'd really be curious to learn, at a separate time and place, a little bit more about what you do, because I'm fascinated by it as well. And frankly, I didn't know this existed until I read the packet.
Nobody does.
So I think it's
Level of the radar.
Yeah, so I think it's something probably worth, promoting a little bit, or at least letting, at least the county folks, if not the greater community, know that you exist. And I think it's a very valuable service that you're providing here, and just being there, in case of worst case scenario. So thank you for that. My only one question is, I know that this expired back in June, so was this contemplated prior to lease expiration, or was this all kind of, because I know with some of the other contracts that are up for renewal today, they're all kind of in consideration of September, October, November. This one I notice has already passed. So is there a reason that we're talking about this now after it's expired? Or?
I look at my lease expirations on a spreadsheet, and I'm way ahead of the curve, but I don't always get the answer or know what facility is gonna do. So it came in late. It's okay because they're on a month-to-month. That's the good thing about a lease, is if it does expire, Michigan law allows that lease to actually be in effect. So it's still in effect. It's considered a month-to-month. But now we're gonna have a new lease.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, Commissioner Markham, followed by Commissioner Weifer.
Well, I'll ask the question, what does the Medical Control Authority do?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking the question. We've been wanting to actually, educate you guys a little bit more. And no, the public really doesn't know that we exist or what we do. Most people don't even realize what kind of EMS service they have in their own communities when they move into those communities. And that, that we try to change that, but it's difficult because people just don't hear until they need us. And so under Public Act 368 of 1978, medical control authorities were promulgated by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services now. It's been many departments over the years. I've been with the Medical Control Authority since the inception in 1996. I've served as the executive director since then, and really we grew the MCA. The hospitals pay for us to be there, and the county has always provided the office space, which we are eternally grateful for, because we do serve with public health right across the parking lot, and we do serve with Homeland Security as well. I actually am an ESF 8 from FEMA position in the EOC. I'm there for every disaster that we have involving EMS and hospitals. So that's our give back, as well as regulating an EMS system that is as large as Oakland County is. We have 49 life support agencies in Oakland County that provide EMS services, both municipal and private. And we have 15 hospitals that take those patients. So we have an abundance of resources, which we're very blessed to have, but it's also a lot of regulation and oversight as well. So that's our primary objective, is to providing the best EMS service in the county of Oakland.
Do you happen to, we're more infrastructure and buildings and things like that. Do you all go before public health and safety at some regular interval, or are you kind of even hidden to them in some degree?
We meet with public health. We used to meet with them a whole lot more. Things have definitely switched and changed since end of COVID. We were meeting regularly. Of course, we were over in the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, every week there for so long, well, every day there for so long, and then every week and then every month. And we'd all get together. Public health serves an ESF 8 role as well as we do. So we were always in constant communication. Every disaster going back to Y2K, I've been involved with.
Just watching about that. I remember that.
That was my first
one.
Wow, okay, well, I think, speaking for all of us, we appreciate what you do. And we'll go ahead and prompt the vote on this lease space.
I said nothing was gonna crash.
A lot of dollar lease conversations in the news, and we want to make sure our dollar leases pass the sniff test.
Yes.
We have 8 yeas, 0 nays, that motion carries. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Keep up the
you.
good work.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. And if anybody would like to go out lunch or just meet with us or see one of our meetings in action, we do have every other month, our medical control committee meets at our building in the auditorium to honor and acknowledge providers that have saved lives. And a lot of times we have the actual patient and patient's family there with us. There's not a dry eye in the room, so. It's an amazing, because everything else that we have to do in regulation we have to have a balance of then giving back to our providers to acknowledge them. So please, if you want to know those dates, we're more than happy to host you guys.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest, because we hear from the sheriff's department when they're doing that sort of thing, we get an email that this is gonna happen on this date, and if you wanna show up, please do. I'd like to see the
Sure.
same kind of thing from you.
Yeah, just give us an email you'd like me to email it to, and I will get you on our list.
Our chief of staff, so make it.
I'll liaison with her to the board.
Yeah,
with Erin.
That'd be great.
Connie's our resident connector.
Got it.
But that would be great, and you were thinking along the same lines as.
I think the whole board would like us, so it should go to the.
Yeah, definitely, not just this committee.
We really appreciate the opportunity to serve the citizens of this community in our county, and there's almost nothing in my career that's been as rewarding as being affiliated with our EMS Medical Control Authority. 250,000 calls for help a year, competently responded to by your fire department personnel, your EMS private providers, all under the oversight of a system that really tries to do the most good for the most people. And I live in Wayne County, I live in Grosse Pointe, but I love that I practice up here. Thank you, guys.
Are you all EMS?
I'm an emergency medicine physician at Providence Hospital. Dr. Cooper?
Emergency medicine at Corewell Health Troy.
Okay.
And I'm a PhD.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all coming and speaking to the need here. And we look forward to more opportunities to dig in and support you all as well.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
coming.
That takes us to the second public comment. Is there anyone here who public commenting for us today?
Here's my public comment. I am a little bit crazy about pickleball, and I'm kind of a nut. So, but it's
A lot of
going
people are
crazy.
now.
Yeah. So my my offer to you is if anybody wants to learn how to play, I'd be happy to meet you at a court and show you how. Half hour, I'll have you play.
All right.
I have 2 rackets in the car. Let's
Wow.
go.
Anywhere, meet you. So
This was not planned. I don't know on
And then
how
I would
on
have to have the EMS come. I gotta
you
get in
can
better
just
shape
text me
first.
or
Yeah.
call me or whatever.
I'll definitely, I used to play tennis and then I got older than 30.
It's very fun.
Very fun.
Everybody's back.
I'm so thrown off. Is there anyone from the public who wants to address the committee before we
I gotta get there.
close that up? I don't see anyone, so we'll go ahead and close public comment. And thank you. And is there any other business to come before this committee? Seeing none, we can go ahead and adjourn. Thank you for your time.
Go.